Okay, so today what we're going to be learning about is writing inequalities. You guys should have a pink note-taking sheet, but you need to get your table of contents updated. So if you received your notebook back from me, you're going to go ahead and update your table of contents. If you didn't, then all you have to do today is fill out the note-taking sheet. Okay? Alright, so your note-taking sheet should look like this, except it should be pink. Okay? Alright, so today we're learning about how to write an inequality for a graph. Okay, so all we have to do is we have to look at the graph, and first we're going to determine whether or not there is an open or a closed circle on the graph. So when I'm looking at this graph here, I see that this circle is open. Okay, so remember, whenever I have an open circle, that means it came from either a less than or a greater than symbol. Okay, if I had a closed circle, that would mean it had a line underneath the less than or greater than, which means it could also be equal to. Okay, so I'm going to look, this one's open, so I know it's going to be one of these symbols. Okay, I'm going to pick a variable. I can use any variable I want. Say I'll just use X. Okay, and I'm going to look at the direction that the arrow's going. Okay, it's going to the right, which means it's covering numbers that are greater than -2. So I'm going to pick the greater than symbol and write -2. Okay. Alright, let's look at example 2. So when I look at example 2, I'm looking at what I have here. This is a closed circle, so I know it's going to be one of these two inequalities. I'm going to go ahead and pick a variable. It doesn't matter which variable. I can pick any letter I want. I'll use T just to change it up. And I see that the arrow is going to the left, which means all of the numbers are getting more and more and more negative, which means they're getting to be less than -5. So I'm going to pick one of these symbols, and this one says less than or equal to. So I'm going to pick less than or equal to. -5 is where the dot is. Okay, next you're going to go ahead and try problem number 3. Okay, so let's review the answer you should have got for problem number 3. Okay, if you're looking at problem number 3, it is a closed circle. Okay, I'm going to pick a variable. I notice that it's going to the right, so all the values are increasing. They're more than or bigger than or greater than -3, so I'm going to pick greater than or equal to -3, because that's the number where my dot is. Okay, next, go ahead and try example number 4. Okay, for example number 4, I see it's an open circle. It looks like the values are increasing, so they're getting larger and larger. So my inequality is going to read some variable. I can pick any variable I want. Is greater than, because it's an open circle. I don't want to have a line there. Greater than -4. Okay. Next, number 5. Go ahead and give that one a try. Okay, let's review and see if you got it right. So I have a closed circle here. So my closed circle, let's pick a variable. I'll just pick any letter. Okay. And I see that all the variables all the values of the variable are decreasing, getting less than. So that would mean I would pick less than or equal to, because it was a closed circle. And my value here is -1. Okay. So the first problem set is pretty simple, right? You're identifying the number where the dot is. That's the number that goes in your inequality. You need to identify whether it's an open or a closed circle. And then you're going to pick the direction of your inequality symbol, whether it's increasing, greater than, or whether it's decreasing, less than. All right, now let's take a look at writing a compound inequality for each graph. You guys learned about compound inequalities yesterday, okay? So today when we're writing a compound inequality, if we have the shading between 2 points, okay, between 2 points means it's going to be an and inequality, or we can also write it like this. Remember how we had like x was less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, like this, some number, okay? X is between the values. Now, you still need to pay attention to whether you need a line or not if you're going to write it this way, because sometimes one of these will have a line, one of them won't have a line, so forth, okay? So now, if it's not between, like they're going apart from each other, so they're going away from each other, opposite directions, then that means it's an or inequality. So that means we need to write 2 different inequalities for each inequality that's there. Okay, so let's take a look at the first problem. It's between the points -10, and what point is this right here? This looks like 0 and 2. Between 0 and 2 would be +1, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and write my variable is between -10 and +1. Now, when I'm choosing what kind of inequality to use, I look at this first one, it's open, so that's fine. But when I look at the second one is closed, so what do I need to put here? I need to make sure I put a line right here. Okay? Alright, next let's look at this one. The inequalities are going in opposite directions, so I'm going to write 2 inequalities that have or between them. So the first inequality, okay, I'm going to pick a variable. I'll just use x here. X is, it looks like it's going less than or decreasing, and it's a closed circle, so less than or equal to. It looks like it's between -10 and -8, so that would be -9. Or I have this other inequality here. So in this one, x would be increasing here, so greater than, and it's an open circle, so I'm not going to draw a line there, greater than 6. Okay, let's take a look at number 8. Okay, on problem number 8, it looks like I have my shading is in between 2 points. Both of the points are open circles. Okay, so let's go ahead and write my compound inequality. Because it's between, it's going to be written, it's an and inequality, so I can write it like this. So I'm going to go ahead and write that x is between 0 and 4. Now, do either of these inequality symbols need a line? No, because both of them are open. Alright, let's take a look at number 9. Okay, on problem number 9, okay, we have inequalities going in opposite directions. So I'm going to go ahead and, okay, look at the first one. This number looks like it's between -10 and -8, so that's at -9. So x is less than -9. No line here. Or x is greater than -6. Neither of these get a line. Alright, last problem. I have the inequalities going away from each other, okay, in opposite directions. So I'm going to go ahead and write an or inequality. For the first one over here, x is less than or equal to, because this is a closed circle, -1. Or I have this second inequality right here. Okay, it starts at 0 and it's increasing. So x is greater than or equal to, because it's filled in, 0. All right. Now that we've got all of those examples completed, you are going to write a paragraph that summarizes what you learned today. So down here in this next section, you need to write a paragraph. I want in your summary for you to explain how to write an inequality from a graph, and also how to write a compound inequality for a graph. So you should have 2 parts in your paragraph right here. Once you're done writing your paragraph, you can start on the D4 homework, which is posted on Google Classroom.